Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Todd and Julie Chrisley open up about challenges of life after prison. After months behind bars, Todd and Julie Chrisley are free. But freedom, they reveal, hasn't felt quite like the liberation many would expect. Once reality TV royalty through their hit show Chrisley Knows Best, the couple's world unraveled in 2022 when they were convicted of tax evasion and bank fraud. They were sentenced to a combined 19 years in prison. But thanks to a presidential pardon from Donald Trump, they walked out of prison much sooner than expected, only to find themselves grappling with an entirely new challenge, reintegrating into the real world. From cameras to concrete walls, the Chrisleys' downfall and release. In the latest episode of their podcast, Chrisley Confessions 2.0, the couple didn't hold back about the emotional weight of adjusting to post-prison life. And if you think being back home is a sigh of relief, it's not that simple. I've actually talked to a few of the women that I was in prison with that are already home, Julie shared candidly. And we all have this general consensus that it's kind of weird to even say it. But Todd jumped in without hesitation. No, it's not weird. Life is rougher than prison life, he said. I mean, that's a sad thing to say because it is so horrific, the conditions that you're there for. But that's from a physical standpoint. From an emotional and psychological standpoint, it is harder dealing with day to day. That raw honesty sheds light on a truth rarely discussed. The outside world, with all its freedom, comes with mental burdens that prison life, in its predictability, didn't prepare them for. Prison routines versus real-world pressure. Julie elaborated on how time behind bars reshaped her mind. There's very little you can do because you're in prison, she said. And people told me this when I first got there. You can't live out there and in here at the same time because they'll literally run you crazy. And the longer you're there, the more removed you become to the world. She went further, revealing the emotional toll of family separation and the chilling adaptability of the human mind. The longer that people are away from their kids, as crazy as it sounds, because it's a double-edged sword, the easier it becomes because you get into your own routine. It's this slow drift from one reality to another that makes reintegration complicated. Gratitude for the pardon, but new struggles ahead. Still, there's no denying that the presidential pardon changed the game. Unlike many others who served their full sentence, the Chrisleys avoided the slow crawl of a halfway house or supervised probation. Todd acknowledged just how significant that was. We didn't have to go to a halfway house, so we don't have to answer to a probation officer. We're not limited as to where we can go and how we can move, he added. So, I think we were thrown right back into the real world. And being thrown back in, without the buffer of transitional programs, has forced them to confront emotions many formerly incarcerated people are often too afraid to admit. Their message is clear: life after prison isn't just about freedom. It's about relearning how to live. And for Todd and Julie Chrisley, that journey is only beginning. It was a warm summer morning in Nashville when Todd and Julie Chrisley stepped outside the modest white brick home they now shared with their daughter Savannah. The scent of cut grass floated in the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of cinnamon rolls baking in the oven. But the couple who once commanded a multi-million-dollar empire and fronted the flashy lifestyle on Chrisley Knows Best were now focused on rebuilding, step by careful step, in the wake of their prison release. The pair sat side by side on the back porch, fingers entwined, eyes reflecting both relief and weariness. There were no cameras rolling this time, no scripted lines, no choreographed hilarity, just raw honesty. I still wake up some mornings and forget I'm not in that cell, Todd admitted, his voice quieter than fans were used to. The walls aren't closing in anymore, but sometimes my mind hasn't caught up to that reality. Julie nodded solemnly. You learn what matters when everything is taken away. Time with your children, the feel of real sunlight, a hot meal with a proper fork, things we all take for granted. The Chrisleys' release from prison had been headline news. Fans and critics alike dissected every moment. From the outfits they wore walking out, to the hugs shared with their children in the parking lot. But the real story wasn't in the flashy photos. It was in the slow, painful process of adjusting to a world that had changed without them. One of the hardest parts, they both agreed, was facing their grown children. To explain to your kids that you aren't the heroes they thought you were, Julie said, her hand clutching a warm mug of tea. We made mistakes. Big ones. And those mistakes cost us time we'll never get back. Savannah, now thrust into the role of guardian, financial manager, and protector of the Chrisley legacy, had been fiercely loyal during their incarceration. But even she had questions. I love them, she told a journalist in a tearful interview. But I also need them to own up, not just to the courts, to us. Todd admitted that his first few weeks home were filled with silence. I didn't know what to say to my children. I could command a boardroom, win arguments on reality TV, but sitting across from Grayson and Chloe and saying, I failed you, that's the hardest sentence I've ever spoken. Julie, always the quieter counterpart to Todd's flamboyance, struggled in her own way. Her time at the Kentucky facility had changed her profoundly. I saw women who had no visitors, no letters, no hope, she recalled, brushing a tear from her cheek. And I realized I'd been given something precious, a family that still cared, that was waiting. That's not something I'll ever take lightly again. Reintegrating into society also came with its share of awkward encounters and scrutiny. Trips to the grocery store brought whispers, stares, and cell phone cameras. The couple had grown used to attention, but not this kind. There's a difference between being famous and being infamous, Todd said with a rueful chuckle. And trust me, the second one doesn't come with any perks. Still, there were moments of grace. A neighbor who once admired the Chrisleys' holiday lights dropped off a homemade casserole. A young woman approached them at a diner and simply said, everyone deserves a second chance. They clung to those moments like lifelines. Both Todd and Julie also began therapy, individually and together, something they once would have scoffed at. We used to think love and God would fix everything, Todd said. But sometimes God puts therapists in your path too. Faith, however, remained a cornerstone. I prayed every night in prison, Julie said, not to be released, but to be reshaped. I didn't want to leave that place the same person who entered it. Their marriage, battered by distance and whispers of strain, had undergone its own trial by fire. But sitting together now, they looked every bit the United Front fans remembered, just a little more weathered, a little less glossy. I had moments in there where I thought we'd never come back to this, Julie said. But we fought for us, not just with words, with patience, with listening, with forgiveness. As the sun crested higher in the sky, the conversation turned to the future. There was talk of a new podcast, perhaps a book, something honest, unvarnished. We're not trying to sell a redemption arc, Todd said. We're trying to live one. Julie smiled, the kind of smile born from pain and progress. We can't undo the past, but we can choose what we build next. They also hoped their story might help others. Families torn apart by incarceration, or couples struggling to reconnect after crisis. There's shame in what we did, Todd said candidly. But if we hide in that shame, it wins. So instead, we're talking, we're owning, we're healing. As they rose from their seats and headed back inside, the laughter of Chloe echoed down the hall. It was innocent, unbothered by lawsuits or legacies. It was a sound that reminded them both why they were fighting so hard to do better, be better.